Nice to meet you.
Good to be here with you. Thank you for
I'm
inviting
really
me.
glad to have you with us today.
It's great to be here in Unesi with you.
Thank you. First of all, how did the idea of investing in Saudi Arabia come to you?
So I've been living and working here off and on for about 20 years. I was already investing in the technology space in Saudi Arabia, so names that you see and use every day like Tabi or Kita. And I've been an investor and an owner in global sports and in football for about 5 years now. And so I'd come to Saudi Arabia, a long time ago, but I formed a partnership with Al Nasser, between Al Nasser and my club Cadiz back in 2023. Before Ronaldo arrived. And that kind of gave me my first entry into Saudi football. So I got to meet the Ministry of Sport, the Saudi Football Federation, the SPL, and about a year ago, the MOS, the Ministry of Sport, introduced this concept of privatization, and it sounded like a perfectly great idea, and so I jumped in to do it.
Okay, what attracted you to invest in Al-Khulud Club?
Yeah, so we were only given the option to invest in 3 clubs. A lot of fans say, why did you buy Al-Khulud? It's a small club, a small fan base, a small city. So we were only given 3 clubs as options. It was Al-Khulud, Al-Uraba, or Al-Ukdud. We chose Al-Khulud from those 3. But the reasons were clear. One, we love Qasim. Everywhere I go in Saudi Arabia, I meet people from Qasimis, right? Everywhere I go, I meet people from Unese, from Aras, from Buraida, whatever it is. The number of diaspora and mafia people you have from Qasim around the country is incredible. And what that means to me is we actually have built-in fan bases anywhere we're going to go. If we go to Riyadh, we're going to run into millions of people from Unese, from Aras, and they can be our fans when we're on the road. They can support us wherever we go. And this is a really dynamic region. You have a lot of wealth here, a lot of businessmen and women coming from this region. And so it just felt like this was a great region to be from. We also liked that the club had kind of a newer history. We liked the fact that we could change a lot of things about it. It had a new logo basically 3 times in the last 3 years. And so we figured, okay, we can kind of rebrand and reimagine the colors and the crest and the jersey. It has a smaller fan base. And for us, that was an interesting challenge, because what that meant was we can build our own fan base the way we want to from scratch. We don't inherit someone else's fan base, because when you inherit a fan base, oftentimes there are a lot of complexities that come with that. Pressure, expectations, maybe bad blood, bad history with the club that you have to kind of unwind. But by taking on board a fresh fan base, we can build it up and build a community of people that really love the club. So many of the actions we have taken over the last 2 months have been to find out who are our true fans and who are people that want to be part of this club for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons, and not because their friends or parents or whatever were fans of the club, or even because it's where they live necessarily. We want people that really love this club. And so by being a newer, fresher club, it gave us the ability to be more experimental. The problem today in Saudi Arabia is if I had taken a club like Al-Shabaab, this club already has very high expectations, a large fan base, and so if we don't perform year 1, already we've missed expectations. And with Al-Khulud, it's going to be up. It's always going to be, we're exceeding expectations. And people have sympathy for us because we're a newer club with challenging infrastructure from smaller cities. So it's actually a place I want to be. We don't have natural enemies. We have a lot of people that support us. And it's been fun to kind of build that new, fresh club from scratch.
I'm strongly agree with you. You said there are only 3 clubs, Al-Uruba, Al-Khulud, and Al-Ukdud.
Mm-hmm.
Why you didn't wait until another club like Najma, Al-Raid, Al-Ta'awun, Al-Shabab?
Yeah, it's a great question. My experience in Saudi Arabia is that first movers win. And so I could have waited, and we were told maybe that in the next cycle, Al-Raid, or someone like you said, that already have better infrastructure, a bigger fan base. But my expectation, and it has played out exactly like this, is if you move first, you can capture the market first. So I wouldn't want to be the privatization folks that are following behind us now, because they're going to have to live up to the expectations that we have set in terms of how we engage with the community, how we change the club, how we improve the infrastructure. Everyone's going to now judge the other clubs against what we've done. And so by being first, I think expectations are lower, we have a lot more support, and we can kind of move faster than anyone else. So I have about a year to get ahead of those people, and I'm going to be using it every minute. That's why I'm sleeping 4 hours a night right now, to take advantage of that year head start we have.
What are your short-term goals that you seek to achieve in this investment?
Yeah, sure. So we obviously had a pretty challenging handover, and we've just taken over the club at a very late stage in the process before the season starting. We were getting players in to the team just before game time, last match against Ittifaq, and all of that just means a very challenging handover and a very short window of preparation ahead of the season. So my very clear first objective for the season is simply to survive and stay in the league. We're not making any promises beyond that. After that, my next objective is to improve our infrastructure. And so that means renovating our existing facilities, and I've started already at the Arras facility. We've built a new locker room. I've already paid for and finished construction of a new grass pitch, our second grass pitch that will be used by our younger teams outside the first team. And so we are putting all that together now, plus the construction of a new pitch that hopefully will be done within the next 3 to 6 months of a new training facility. And so that's objective number 2, because as of today, I think the infrastructure we have at Arras is the worst infrastructure in all of the SPL, and probably the worst infrastructure across the 3 divisions of Saudi football, top 3 divisions. Today I visited University College's Unese. They have better facilities than Al-Khulud. And so...
I was there in Al-Khulud before 1 year.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
And so I'm bringing global top-tier talent to Arras, which is obviously a city that's much smaller than they're accustomed to, but I simply cannot put them in front of that type of infrastructure quality. And so that's objective number 2. After that, we then have to start kind of top down and thinking about building the right human infrastructure to support a bottom-up club. So what that means for me is getting in a new academy director, getting in youth coaches, of course, particularly Saudi youth coaches, and working with people like SAF and others to kind of identify the right young talent, be it through the schools tournaments here. But we need to build our human infrastructure base so that we can kind of then plug kids in at different levels. As I've said from the very beginning of this exercise, I cannot afford to buy talent. I have to build it. And I will build talent both to help our first team win, but also to ultimately help our club maintain financial sustainability. And that means we will have to sell some players into the big clubs in Saudi Arabia. So that's a long-term goal. It takes time, but we can immediately attack it by getting those humans in place that are necessary to build the skeleton of the machine.
Only the long-term goals?
Those are my kind of, I'm a very concrete person, so I don't talk in grand gestures about what I want to accomplish. I try to think about what we physically can do. If I kind of try to step back, if 5 years from now we do a check-in, I'd be happy to come back and have another follow-up interview 5 years from now, and you said, Ben, you've become the Brentford or Brighton of the Saudi Pro League, then I'd feel like I'd accomplished my goal. And what that means to me is being a kind of stable club that's never getting relegated, that's kind of top of the table, at least, kind of top 9, top 10, that is profitable and is being able to sell players into the big teams, but also maintain theirs, has a nice, small, but very robust stadium experience where fans are really engaged and love their club. And the club is seen as a benchmark of sustainability, both financially as well as on a performance basis. If I could achieve that, then I'm a very happy man.
How can you balance between financial returns and sporting achievements that fans aspire to?
Well, the good news for our fans and for the other participants in this league is I didn't come here to make money. A lot of people come into football with dollar signs in their eyes, and my personal opinion is usually only the players and the people that actually get paid a salary make money. Owners rarely make significant capital in investing in clubs. My objective is always, and I do this at Cadiz as well as now hopefully at Al-Khulud, which is to run a club that's break even, meaning we don't lose money. I can't afford to lose money. So I'm not going to spend until we lose money. But I'm also not going to be taking a lot of money out of the club and putting it into my pocket. My objective is if we do sell players, then we use that capital and we recycle it back into the club to have a better performance, better infrastructure. I think you can balance the two because I don't need to make money out of this club to afford my lifestyle elsewhere. I've made my money elsewhere. My day job is venture capital and investing in technology companies, but my passion and my love is football. And so if we can run a financially sustainable club that then makes money through player trading and uses that back into the club, my job is done.
Do you believe the sport investment in Saudi Arabia today is financially rewarding?
So I think we have to be very specific about what sports we're talking about, because there are a lot of sports in Saudi Arabia today that are not financially sustainable and are sustained through government support and subsidies, right? So a lot of, for instance, the Olympic-related sports, and this is true of any country, are not financially sustainable in their own right today and have to receive kind of government subsidies. I think right now football can be financially sustainable if done properly. And there are a couple other sports that I'm excited about on the horizon that could be. Women's football has the chance in the not too distant future to be financially sustainable, perhaps basketball. And there are a couple other sports like volleyball that I think people here really enjoy that maybe you could make turn a profit someday. But as football is concerned, I think there's a huge potential upside here. And that's because this league is growing like this. I mean, we're already fourth in the world in terms of the salary budget. I expect continued investment into the league and into the sport ahead of the World Cup, which is still 9 years away. So that gives us a really long runway to prepare and invest. Saudis love football. You have more Saudi football fans per capita than any country in the world. Even Brazil, I think, has 63% of Brazilians are football fans. Saudi Arabia is 75%. So to me, that means that you have a real, true fan base here. You have a fan base that's hungry for a great league, hungry for national team success. And one of the problems is Saudi Arabia has, been a bit flatlining on the national team level, with, I guess the World Cup in my home country, the United States, back in '94 is kind of the high point, right? Making it to the last 16. So I hope we can contribute to this story and help develop players out of Al-Khulud, and our alumni will one day be on the national team and be leading it to glory, hopefully in 2034. But I think there are multiple levers and kind of metrics for success. One of them is definitely financial, but one of them is building a really strong financially viable league and along the way developing a national team that makes the country proud.
If you don't mind sharing, what is your stake in Al-Khulud Club and at what price you acquired it?
Sure. I own 100% of Al-Khulud Club, and I own this on a personal basis, so I have not raised any outside capital. This is not done through a fund. I personally believe that football is best done with patient, long-term capital, and I better put my money where my mouth is, so this is my own capital. In terms of the transaction itself, I can't disclose the exact numbers, but I can kind of tell you broadly that the transaction was a combination of equity and future investment commitment. So that means that we have bought the equity of the club and paid off some of the debts of the club, but also are committing to invest further in the club. So as I mentioned, I'll be breaking ground very soon on a new training facility, and that is entirely capital that I'm putting up for the club. We're not receiving any support financially for that construction from outside parties or from the Ministry of Sport.
Okay, from your experience, do you feel the value of Al-Khulud Club is too high or okay?
It's a complicated transaction. There are very few of what I would call privatizations in the world today, where you have government-owned clubs that are being privatized. In fact, this was arguably the first ever privatization to a foreign entity in the history of the Middle East, not just in the history of Saudi Arabia. And it's also, I think, the first ever time a private, independent, non-government affiliated entity has bought a first-tier club in Saudi Arabia. So actually, I'm more proud of being that than being a foreigner. You have plenty of great Saudi entities that could own and operate clubs, so I don't like to make a big deal out of the fact that I'm a foreigner, but I do like to make a big deal about the fact that I'm the first person that really cares about the financial sustainability of this club and with whom the bottom line sits with me, right? There's no one I can blame, there's no one that I can pass the buck on if I'm struggling financially to run this club. As a result of all that, I think that Saudi football is still probably undervalued. I don't think it's overvalued. There's too much money being spent in Saudi football today in non-efficient ways. So I think that efficiency can be improved, and I think you're going to see further privatizations, including of your club here in Unese, Al Najma, has been announced for this year. But I think you're going to see more and more privatizations that will enforce a more fiscal efficiency and rigor on the league that's very healthy. But I think that Saudi Arabia is still a very good investment and not an inflated value.
Okay, what are the main challenges you have faced since entering this investment?
Yeah, so I mean, we inherited a very messy situation with the club. We inherited a club that had not paid debts or had not paid its dues for about 6 months. We inherited a club that had a very kind of messy internal org structure. We inherited a club that had made some strategic decisions that were not in its best long-term interest that we had to unwind. And again, we inherited the club very late heading into the season. And so we had a very short period of time to clean up all the mess we inherited and then restructure things and then prepare the team for battle heading into a match that you've already had now against Ittifaq. And so that short timeline to prepare the club was really challenging. That's why I've set expectations so low for this season. But overall, I mean, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. I wasn't shocked by anything I found. This wasn't some big scary experience. I'm a bit of a cowboy. I've spent my whole life working and living in emerging markets, Southeast Asia, East Asia, Middle East, and in Africa. And so I brought a team of people with me that equally understood how to operate under challenging conditions, and we were able to do fine under the circumstances. And so, we knew what we were getting ourselves into, and we've survived accordingly.
Do you intend to sell a part of your stake in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't yet made a decision around that. As I said, I don't need outside capital. I haven't raised outside capital. We're certainly always thoughtful and mindful, though, of bringing in strategic investors. If we can bring in people that add something to the group that we don't have today, be that connection to key sponsors, key infrastructure providers, other ecosystem participants, if that means that we can bring in outside expertise of people that have run some of the best football clubs, sports teams, and companies globally, and bring them into our group to aid us thinking strategically about how we grow and improve this club, we'd be open to exploring bringing them in the group. But as of yet, we've not thought about it, and I've not approached anyone about bringing money in.
How do you evaluate الخلود summer transfer?
We didn't have everyone together the way we would have liked. So I think I have to kind of punt that question down the road and wait to see how we perform. But generally speaking, I think we were pretty happy with what we were able to get, particularly the international player profiles we went after. We didn't overspend. We didn't do anything that I think was reckless. We got the types of players we wanted on defense, on offense. We got and so I'm happy with the players we have. I'd say my one frustration that I've been keeping me up at night was actually on the Saudi side. We were hoping to get more Saudi national team players who are in desperate need of playing time. And what we ran into, which is really frustrating for me, is situations where the player themselves wanted to come to our team, the Saudi Football Federation wanted them to come to our team, the agent wanted them to come, the parents wanted them to come, but the clubs wouldn't release them. And maybe not even the clubs, maybe the coach or maybe the sporting direction. And so that's a very frustrating dynamic to me, because if Saudi Arabia wants to move its footballing trajectory forward at the national team level, it needs to allow its younger talent to get playing time. Many of these players are being kind of, let's call, stockpiled in some of these big clubs, sitting at the end of the bench and just rotting away and not getting that playing time that's essential for them to be prepared, with hopefully them qualifying for next summer's World Cup and certainly for future World Cups. And so that's my biggest frustration from this transfer window, was we would have liked to have added probably another 2 or 3 national team, younger quality players. And we have always said from the offset, we want to be that team that where national team players go to develop and go get playing time. And so my message to everyone today is, if you're a national team player that's not getting playing time, come to us. And if your coaches or your sporting director is not allowing you to do that, they're getting in the way of the national interest. Because at the end of the day, if the state is already paying for all of these teams in the league, except for ours, they should be ensuring that those teams are getting playing time for Saudi national team players, and they're not, and they're also not letting them come to me. And at that point, I'm quite frustrated, because I want those players. It's good for me, it's good for the player, it's good for the national team, and it's even good for those clubs because they offload their salary to me. So there's no real reason for them to do it, other than the fact that many of these clubs don't have to worry about dollars and cents at the end of the season. They don't care how much money they lose, and so they're happy to keep that expensive player sitting on the bench. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. Okay, did you discover any debts when you come to the الخلود?
So we had already, we'd been running this process for a year. This wasn't a fast transaction that happened overnight, and we had already done our own due diligence on the club. So we had a very good understanding of what the debt picture was. When we came on board the club, we also brought in a forensic accountant, who are the type that dig very deeply into the financials to understand every single SAR, where is it going, into who and why. And so we are just finishing that understanding, but the debts that we encountered were not massively beyond what we expected going in. So that's been relative.
Can you tell us how much?
I can't disclose the figure, but it's a reasonable number. I'm looking at clubs in Europe that are in far much worse case financially every day, that are tens of millions of euros in debt. This club is nowhere near that level.
Okay, what are the main issues that you noticed in the club?
Well, first and foremost, infrastructure, right? So the infrastructure, as we've said, worst in the three big leagues. We encountered some really great people inside the organization, and some people who weren't at the level that we expected. Some people that weren't coming to the office, some people that weren't doing essentially or on board with the transition and the new ownership. And so that's been a challenge for us. We inherited, obviously, a team that we didn't build, so we've had to kind of work around that and work with the players that we have that are still on contract and add new kind of players to complement them. And so we didn't get to choose our full squad from day one. It's certainly challenging to some degree to be in our Rus, I have to admit, because we're 4 hour and 15-minute drive from Riyadh. Some global players don't want to come to play in our Rus, for better or worse. So I've lost players during this transfer window that didn't want to live in our Rus, and even our Rus is not Uneze. Uneze is much larger than our Rus. We're still an hour plus drive just from the airport. So we're quite far from the center as it is. And so the net result of that is it just means that on top of all the other challenges we were facing, we're not some club that's sitting in a beautiful large stadium with fresh infrastructure on the beach in Jeddah, right? So that's a challenge, because it means now I've got to sell people on a vision of what Al-Khulud can be and not what it is today. And so I've had to be, even though usually owners are treated like gods or whatever, I've had to be on the road pitching myself and my club and my project to players domestically and internationally to convince them to come play for me against all odds, because they know the quality of the infrastructure, where we are, and so that's been a kind of an additional unexpected challenges. I thought, if you're willing to pay the money, people will show. And in our situation, even if you're willing to match their salary at another club, they're still not willing to come. And so we've been fighting very hard to bring in players and convince them to come using a set of principles that we think set us apart from the rest of the league. And that's a very stable management. No one can fire me. It's not like in other clubs where the sporting director blames the finance director and the finance director blames the Ministry of Sport or whatever. With my club, everything stops with me. And so if you have a problem and you're not being paid your salary, you talk to me. I have to pay it out of my own pocket, but I have to take care of things. I can't blame somebody else. We think that's a differentiator. We think it's a differentiator that we are building a global quality standard in terms of coaching, data science, sports science. We are building global standard infrastructure. This training facility that you will see us announce soon is exactly the same quality, if not better, than what Al Nasser, Al Hilal, Al Ittihad, and Al Ahly have. So it is going to be those four clubs and Al Khulud that have the same quality infrastructure. So I will not allow our club to be thought of as a lesser club. I will not allow our club to be one where we have to convince or overpay players to come to us. We want players that understand that we are a global standard club with amazing quality infrastructure, coaching. And especially for Saudi national team players, they are going to get the level of playing time that they need to compete for starting jobs on the Saudi national team. And I'm certain that many other clubs, particularly the big clubs that are sitting on today, cannot offer them that.
As the first foreign investor in Saudi Arabia, what advice would you give to others considering this step?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the first is, I hope that you have a really deep understanding of Saudi Arabia. Just because you have run a football club or done business in other part of the world does not mean that you can easily operate here. and you really need to have a deep understanding of the history, the culture, the religion, and the fan history, the footballing history of this country before you step foot here, because this is a very special and unique country, and one that requires someone to have a very high Saudi IQ. And that is actually a fairly rare group of people. There's only a few folks that I know that have really spent significant time in the kingdom, understanding it deeply, and care about it. I'd also say that you need to be someone who cares about the development of the entire ecosystem here. You cannot be someone who's coming here for quick profit. You have to be someone that understands that this is all part of the growth and the vision, the 2030 vision of the Crown Prince, to expand the infrastructure, sporting ecosystem, and of course national pride of the country. And so everything you do is be thought of within that ecosystem. It's not just that you're operating a club in isolation and you can do whatever you want with it. You need to think about how you plug into that and how you are value additive to that ecosystem. And again, I think that's hard for a lot of people to imagine, because they're used to being in markets where a club is a club and it doesn't matter how that relates to the national team or to the national strategy or whatever else. The third thing is, obviously you have to understand this is a very different kind of league than most are associated with. This is a league that is still 99% state owned. It's a league where, even though they've talked about and had official privatizations to date, these are still state affiliated entities, state affiliated sovereign wealth funds, corporations, and it's a league that therefore has very different dynamics, because you've got a lot of clubs that are still depending on state subsidy and are therefore less budget conscious than I am or than new privatized clubs will be. And that's a very challenging dynamic. It means there's going to be a lot of wage inflation, because those clubs are willing to pay higher salaries because the buck doesn't stop with them financially. And so you need to be cognizant of that type of a dynamic. The next thing I'd say to people is that you're operating in an environment that is very new as a sporting ecosystem, right? It's, my club was only founded in 1970, not too long before I was born, whereas many of these clubs in Europe have 100+ years of history. My club in Spain has over 120 years of history. And so again, what that means is that football fans here are very different than they are in the rest of the world. I would say the fan bases of the big four clubs and a couple sporadic other clubs like Altai and others, even smaller clubs outside the first division, are mature and love to come to the stadium, but other fan bases are much more apathetic or appear in a different way. And I think that's a really important thing people have to recognize about Saudi Arabia, which is fans here are very engaged, but they're engaged in a different way than European fans. If I tweet something about my club in Europe, I'll get 20,000 views and maybe 400 likes. If I tweet something about my clubs here, we can often get thousands of likes and millions of views. And the reason is, I think Saudis have existed more in the digital realm historically than they did in the physical realm. The physical realm was different, difficult in some ways to navigate. People stuck more to their homes. There was less of kind of a cafe culture than maybe you've experienced in other countries. And so, and I think that's important to embrace that. Rather than trying to force Saudis to be like European football fans, you need to learn to embrace Saudi football fans in their element. And that, for me, is embracing them online and not, getting angry at them for not physically being with me in the stadium, because I know they're watching online. I know they're watching from their homes. And so we need to find ways of engaging them and adapting our business and our viewing experience to their habits and requirements. And so all of those are very different than what you'd experience if you were just owning and operating a football club in, say, Europe or North America.
How you can do this?
Well, I've been thinking about it a lot over the last few weeks. As you know, I put out a tweet that got a lot of engagement over a few days ago about how do we change and improve the stadium experience.
Yeah, so it's more than 3 million views.
Yeah, and that tweet I think was great because I just got so much concrete feedback from people. I mean, people weren't saying, well, fix the league, fix the weather, whatever. People came back with very specific pain points that they were feeling in their stadium experience. And the shocking thing to me was, why hasn't this been fixed before? Because a lot of these things don't even cost money to fix. Like, it's not like build stadiums with domes and get air conditioning. It's like, put seat numbers on our seats and don't have this horrible paid fan group with this piercing microphone, a megaphone, blasting in our ears and taking the best seats. not only does that not cost me money to get rid of that, that saves me money. So it's like, it was an
small
incredible
details.
Yeah, small details. And so I literally, out of that, I personally wrote down everything I saw that I could, and then I've actually engaged one of my analysts to read through every single comment. And people should know that when they send me a tweet, I read it and my team reads it, and we literally are collecting all that feedback, and we've already put it into a strategy document which is sitting on my desk today that I myself produced, that talks about kind of short-term things we can change, medium-term and long-term things. Short-term are things that we could literally change probably for the game that's coming up on the 18th against Damak, that I hope everyone comes to. Some of it is kind of medium-term, which will take a little bit more logistics and coordination, like maybe we find a parking lot a little ways away and we arrange buses to pick people up and bring them so that parking is no longer an issue. And then there's long-term stuff, which is literally the creation of a new stadium or renovating a stadium to fit the demands of people. But that was an incredible example of how people are very transparent online. They tell you exactly how they feel, and you can use that. But in the long term, I do think we have to understand and think about what is the future of Saudi viewing outside of the big four clubs. The big four clubs can drive huge numbers. Yesterday I visited the Kingdom Arena and saw
Nice
the quality
stadium.
of that, right? It's amazing, and it's almost without precedent in Western sports as well. So that's an incredible feat for Saudi Arabia, and I think it was built in like 60 days, which is incredible to me. But maybe the future of our league isn't big outdoor stadiums that seat 60,000 fans. Maybe the future of our league are indoor stadiums that seat 2,000 people, and then have green screens surrounding the stadium where you can project your face and project your voice. So, it's still loud and it still feels like there are a lot of people, but those people are living in kind of a semi-virtual world where they are watching the game and you can see them watching it, but that's not a physical human that you can touch and feel. Maybe there are out-of-the-box ideas we can come up with that don't cost $1 billion to, again, embrace Saudis in their element, but bring them into our game.
We will see a private stadium for الخلود club.
We're exploring different approaches right now. There are stadiums that can be renovated. There are stadiums that we can build. There are stadiums that are already under construction that we could become the anchor tenant of. So we're right now trying to assess between those options. Right now, like I said, my top priority is building a new training facility. After that, we worry about the stadium.
Okay, tell me what's the best 3 comments come to you.
So like I said, a lot of these were, the funny thing was when I was starting to write the tweet, I actually wanted to write it about the paid fan groups and the annoying megaphone. And so it was fascinating and then my team kind of said, Ben, maybe you don't want to criticize that. Like maybe don't say it right away. Because, I was shocked by how much those fan groups charge and how inauthentic the experience is. It's not about the money for me, but it's about the fact that it just feels fake. Nowhere else in the world that I know of do you have paid fan groups. Now, for instance, if you go to a Real Madrid match, everyone's sitting behind in the kind of the curva, whatever they call it, has white shirts on, and maybe they were given those shirts by the club. I don't know. Maybe they're given subsidized seats by the club. But I tell you what, the club is not paying for those fans to be there. And those fans are loud and cheering the entire match. So this just shocked me that this was a kind of a standard component of the Saudi footballing experience. So that was one thing. A couple things that, again, just shocked me that cost us nothing to fix. So one, people said, one of the uncomfortable things for me in a stadium is I go in, there are no numbers on the seats. It's just a section. So it's like you're in the section behind the goal or you're in the section next to the field. And then there's no one walking around to sell them water or to sell them food. And so they have this very uncomfortable experience where they want to maybe go to the toilet, they want to go buy a bottle of water, but they can't leave their seat because they're worried someone else is going to come and take their seat. That's crazy to me. I mean, that's just crazy that they don't feel that level of comfort. And so, we will start by bringing the food and water to their seats. We'll start by having kind of this American concept of roving concessions, and I'd rather give it away than sell it, but we'll do whatever we need to do to make sure they get what they need. And then hopefully in the future put seat numbers on there. I mean, so it was these kind of unexpected pain points of the current fan experience in the stadiums in Saudi Arabia. And it's not all stadiums, of course.
Yeah.
For instance, Kingdom Arena has seat numbers and things like that. But in these fan experiences in, let's say, kind of like bottom half of the table clubs, that shocked me and that we can do a lot about. And so that was really an exciting and productive experience to talk with and hear from the fans about what was.
Have you been in Al-Inma Stadium
In which
Jeddah? Al-Inma.
Yes, I have. So I watched the Club World Cup a couple years ago. I saw Al-Ittihad play against Al-Ahli. I've been to Al-Amwal Park. I've been to now Kingdom Arena. So I've been to most of the big stadiums.
Did you see Al-Ittihad fans and Al-Ahli fans?
Yeah.
There are Korfa.
Yeah.
Fantastic fans.
Yep. No, I saw everything. And that's in a huge stadium, very impressive. I've been at some matches at Al Nasser Stadium that are full. I've been to some matches even when Cristiano is playing that aren't very full. So, but certainly the fans in Jeddah, they show up for the games.
Yeah. How do you see the club current position compared to its competitors in the league?
So the league is only getting stronger. It's a really scary league for someone like me, especially given how late a start we had on this season. So, you've got the big four who are getting better every year. Then you've got what I call the next big four, and those are the clubs. Two of them are not yet up, but they will be soon enough. So that's Al Ula, Diriyah, Niam, and Qadisiyah. And those are, again, clubs that are technically privatized but have access to infinite budgets. So those 8 clubs scare me very much. And then you've got a great band of other really strong clubs, Al Taun, Ettifaq, Shabab, so there's the, even Khalij and others who are doing well now out the gate. So it's a very challenging league and not one where anyone should say, I'm going to easily not get relegated. I'm going to easily stay comfortably in the league. And so, again, our job this year is to survive and then to fight to be a top of the table, kind of top 9 club going forward. But certainly the level of competition is only going up. I'm shocked as I'm sitting here right now looking at the new player signings and how high quality players coming out of England, Spain, Portugal are coming to the league. So it is going to be a really challenging league.
Mr. Ben, do you face a challenge moving a home match to Buraida? Maybe 100 kilo.
Yeah. No.
Against Al-Ittihad, Al-Hilal, Al-Nasr, Al-Ahli.
Yeah, I get it. No, I don't like that at all. I want our, because I consider that an away match. And again, it's just going back to the challenge we're facing. So we have the, third tier level infrastructure. We're sharing a stadium with another club that is on their premises that literally has their signage all over the club. So it says Hazim Club everywhere, the big logo. It's clearly not our stadium. It's not even a neutral stadium. And then to your point, we're playing at least, I think, 5 and maybe 6 matches away this season in Buraida. That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That basically means we're an away team the whole stadium, the whole season, and we never get a chance to really bring our fans to our home arena. And so this has to change. I don't think it makes any sense for us to go to Buraida. That's not a home match. Our fans don't want to drive an hour that direction. And likewise, even I would actually prefer to play those matches at the home stadiums of those teams. I'd rather just go play twice at Kingdom Arena rather than playing once in Buraida, because no one benefits from Buraida. Our home fans don't benefit from Buraida, nor do the fans of Al Hilal, right? So it's a bad situation for everyone.
For the first time in Russian League history, the Arras Derby will take place. Have you set any special plan for this event?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I went and already met. One of the first meetings I had when I first got to Arras was to meet with the president and the CEO of Al Hazm Club, and they were very nice and welcomed me as everyone has. I think it'll be very fun to have a bit of a build up for the derby. At Cadiz, we never had a derby, so we have no natural rival at Cadiz either. So this is my first time to have kind of a derby and an in-city derby. Our stadiums are probably a 5-minute drive apart or something like that. So, or our training facilities. So I'm really looking forward to that derby. That'll be a lot of fun.
This is the first derby in the history.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that.
Will you keep in touch with the fans? Or just for now?
No, I will never stop. And that's literally the reason why I do this. there are much easier ways to make money than football. I could take my money and put it in the S&P 500 and go to sleep at night, and I'd make a lot more than I would in football. I can invest in fun technology companies and AI in the future of technology. The reason why you get into football is for the fans. And so if I'm living in some glass box where I'm separated from the fans and don't get to interact with them, I'm miserable. I want to be with them as much as I possibly can. That's why I said I want to sit in the stands with them. So for me, the only reason to get into this is to be with our fans. And the challenging thing for us is we don't have that many fans for Al-Khulud. So my job as a new owner is to try to build a new fan base where one didn't exist before.
Okay, what is your message to Al-Khulud fans?
I think as I've said before, so, we are us versus the world this year. We have one of the smallest budgets in the league. We have the worst infrastructure in the league. We are the freshest team in the league in terms of playing together. So it is going to be a very challenging season. We are 100% the underdog in every one of our matches. And I hope that narrative resonates, because I think a lot of fans around the world like the idea of an underdog. They like it when the smaller club beats the bigger club. That's what we're going to be in every one of our matches. And I hope that alone attracts you to us. As I said, we are a team that needs you as a fan more than any other team in Saudi Arabia needs you. It's very easy to be an Al Nasser, an Al Hilal fan, an Al Ittihad fan. Plenty of trophies, great infrastructure, tons of famous players. You won't know the names of any of the players on our roster. You're not going to see us doing crazy things in the market, outspending anyone else. But we need you as a club more than any other club needs you. And so that means we're going to appreciate you more. We're going to treat you better. We're going to value your opinion and ask your opinion and ask you to tell us what you think about the club and how we can make it better for you. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to take time. Changing our stadium experience, especially for a stadium we don't own or operate, is going to be really challenging. But over time and over the coming years in this project, we're going to bring you into the tent, and you are part of the team. You are not our customer. You are not someone that's sitting on the other side of the table. You're sitting on our side of the table with us.
Thank you. I'm really glad to have you with us in our region. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the great questions.